Hello, darkness, my old friend. Welcome to 1.21 Gigawatts. I'm Peter, I'm joined with Matt as always.
Hey, what's up? At least there's a little bit of neon in this darkness.
Also here is Tim from Screams After Midnight.
Hello, Pete. It's great to be here.
Yeah, the darkness I was speaking of, Tim, was you.
Oh, nice.
And also here we have a first timer, a guest from RonansReviews.com that you've heard me plug on a weekly basis. Welcome, Dan, to the show.
Hi, everybody. Thanks.
So good luck with the accents this week because you've got two Americans, a Scotsman, and an Australian. So have fun with that.
We are representing on 3 different continents.
Well, Americans don't have accents. What are you talking about?
We're also representing bearded men on 3 different continents.
Yeah.
So yeah, have fun with that. But we are going to talk about Suicide Squad.
I feel like Pete just plugged us into some type of weird fetish of bearded men reviews.
Sure. Bearded
Tim,
men with
stop
beards.
giving away the money ideas, alright?
We have all sorts of combinations. We have glasses with hats, hats with no glasses, and no hats, no glasses. You have all the variations of bearded men.
All the demographics are covered.
Yeah, exactly. So we're going to talk about Suicide Squad this week, and this is of course a fairly big movie for us because we talk about comic book movies a lot here, and it's kind of in our wheelhouse. And if you remember, there'll be a link to it in the corner right about now as I say this, but when we reviewed Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice, we went for 2.5 hours and we tore it to shreds. Me and Matt here, we are big DC guys. This is very much in our thing. Tim's more sort of 50-50, but certainly you're in the...
I like DC a lot, and I'm actually a big fan of the Suicide Squad in general. But I don't really have as much of an allegiance to specific universes. I feel like as you guys, I feel like we all read, there's nothing that stops us from reading anything. But I think you guys do lean a little more towards DC, where I don't really have as specific an allegiance.
Except
If
to
I
Hellboy.
if I do, it's to Hellboy.
Yeah, it's like someone walks in and says DC or Marvel, you're like, Hellboy, fuck the world, and just jumping out the plane. Dan, do you have any, are you a comic book reader? Do you...
No, not a lot. Used to be Judge Dredd quite a lot, and I used to try and get my hands on whatever Star Wars comics I could, but DC and Marvel, no. I'm more of just a film fan when it comes to them.
That's fine. I think that's a different perspective to come from here then.
Yep.
So that's nice. So usually there'll be a spoiler-free section. We're not going to do that today because honestly I can't be arsed tiptoeing around it. I just want to go into it. We're going to go through it in order. We're going to get straight into it. So full spoilers for Suicide Squad from here on out. If you want the short review, it's shit. That's the end of your spoiler-free review.
But it's not as shit as you thought. Like, if you were expecting diarrhea, it's not,
Well, Well, can I just start off by saying this whole process of this movie was like a weird roller coaster of
Yep.
Do you remember like a year or two ago, when they started talking about it, and you kept hearing all those weird things from sets, and you're like, oh, that doesn't sound good. And then they started leaking those pictures, and you're like, that definitely doesn't look good.
Yeah.
But then we got that trailer that actually looked pretty good. And then I was
The trailer
excited.
was better than the film.
Yeah,
Right, yeah.
Dude, this is. I mean, one of the main complaints I'm going to have with the movie is that I thought the soundtrack was really intrusive. Like every 5 minutes, there was another song starting, and
Yep.
it's like clearly from that trailer they were trying to go for like a Guardians of the Galaxy kind of thing where they had this like soundtrack of like all these old songs and like they wanted that feeling. But in the movie, like every 5 minutes, it just starts up and there's no rhyme or reason to it.
No, at least in Guardians, it was Peter Quill's mixtape from his mom.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So there was a sentimental thing to it that tied in. Here it was David Ayer's playlist. He's like, yeah, just add it. It'll sound cool.
And do you know?
It did sound cool, though.
Well, yeah, I mean, most of the music was good. I questioned the Eminem choice at one point, but other than that, like, most of the music was fine. I think, do you know what I think hurts it as well? It's not even the context. I don't think you need context for a good soundtrack like that. Because Guardians did have that, and it was cool. But I think the thing that hurts it more than that here is that they're all really well-known songs.
Yeah.
Whereas with Guardians, I felt like if you weren't around in the 80s, you probably didn't know a lot of those.
No.
You know?
Yeah.
but that added to the flair of the movie too, because
Yeah.
even if we don't know him, Quill does.
Yeah.
So, but here, like, Fortunate Son was in this, right? Or am I just merging them all together?
No, I think you're right there. Yeah.
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 And that to me is a song that's about Vietnam. That's in every Vietnam movie. And
Yeah.
so here, when it shows up, I'm just like, what is going on?
Yeah.
You know,
I think it's tied to Vietnam these days, but originally it was a protest piece against the American government. But
well, then
same
that
thing.
makes much more sense. And I think Ayer knows that, but you know, the rest of the people, myself
Yeah,
included.
it's a Vietnam song, of course.
Yeah.
So,
Dan's a music guy, by the way. If anyone didn't know, he's
go.
pulling out the music trivia right now.
Awesome. Well, see, now we're even more well balanced.
Yeah.
But here's my thing with Ayer on this too is he straight up lied, and I still can't get over that because when the Joker stuff came out, right, and he goes, "Oh no, that was those tattoos are for a piece that we did about Joker's 70th."
Yeah.
You know, and then we start seeing him in the trailer, and it's like, "You son of a bitch!"
And that stupid damaged tattoo in the forehead
Yeah.
is still there.
The grill really, really pissed me off.
Yeah.
It's so annoying.
Because there was no even like explanation. Like we had heard rumblings that it might be because Batman's knocked out all of his teeth.
Yeah.
You know, because this is BVS Batman who brands people first and asks questions later.
Yeah.
So I would expect him to knock out all of Joker's teeth, but there was not even that. He just wore it to be cool in my eyes.
Yeah, well, the whole appearance of him was trying to be cool. It was like, oh, look at me in my leather trench coat, my punk rock sort of,
Well, did you hear where that came from? Right, from Ayer in an interview.
Was it?
He follows a bunch of Instagram drug dealers. So that's what you do when you're in Hollywood. Okay. And he wanted to use that look for the Joker.
Oh God.
Yeah.
That's actually a big problem I had. Like Pete, like you're talking about how the music was very distracting. I found like a lot of the costumes and stuff to be very distracting. Like, yeah, there's just like everything just seems so busy. Like if the Joker didn't have those like tattoos in the grill, he actually would have looked like pretty cool. Yeah, and then and then like
go ahead, Tim.
But like other stuff like like I like Deadshot's like costume, but then it even like had like stuff that was unnecessary. Like it had like a weird quote on the collar.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? Like every time like I saw him on screen, I kept trying to like read that quote and be like, what? Like what's the point of that?
He also had a thing for pink unicorns. Or
ponies. No, that was Boomerang.
That was Captain Boomerang.
Oh, sorry, I thought we were talking about him. Who were we talking about?
We're talking about Deadshot.
All right, Deadshot. Okay, fair enough.
But like, yeah, Captain Boomerang also was like busy, like his whole look and stuff.
Yeah.
I also thought Deadshot's mask was a little bit weird because it looked like it was made out of PVC, like vinyl, and there's no way that thing's breathable.
Yeah.
I always pictured it was a cloth that you could pull over with a scope in the eye,
Yeah, logically, I think you're right. I think in terms of look, though, it was fine. Like, it looked Deadshot, so whatever.
Well, of course, but I'm thinking, again, practically, whereas, and I don't want to compare it to Nolan or whatever, because those are its own things. But I felt like, well, when it came to costuming, everything made sense. From Batman's gauntlets, right, to when he slimmed down the suit so he could turn his neck in The Dark Knight, to even Joker's stuff. The way that he dressed. There was a rhyme and reason to it all. Here, I don't feel there is. Like, you're sending Harley into a war zone and you give her booty shorts. Not that I mind, because I find Margot Robbie very attractive. But I just feel like fishnets and booty shorts.
Honestly, though, there was a couple of the jokes about her being like really hot that worked and I thought were fine. Yeah. They did go too far. Like, I felt like some of the stuff later in the movie, especially when she is running around in those shorts, I'm like, those things are far too short. Like, they're really like there's entire shots where all you're focusing on is her ass because that's what's sticking out.
Well, Pete, I think you might have some insight to this, but I was thinking like, man, I fucking hate what they've done to Harley Quinn. Like I loved her in the animated series, and like I loved her as this kind of like goofball, funny character. But then I don't know, did it start with the Arkham games where they kind of turned her into like this like goth sex pot, kitten weird thing? But it's like I don't know. It just feels like it's something for like
Well,
nerds to beat off to or something. It's
because when Dini's always written her, she's kind of like, even in Mad Love, there's the whole you want to rev up your Harley.
Yeah.
Right?
I get that. Like,
outside of that, she's pretty sexless. Like, she's just Harley Quinn.
Well, it kind of always seemed like that kind of old school Hollywood starlet kind of sexy vibe. That's not like now. It's just like a fucking. I don't know. I don't want to say anything.
Well, no, I get that. And here, you know, being familiar with Harley's origin, there's a tragedy to it because she really does care for the Joker deep down.
Yeah,
she still feels she can fix him. And I feel here with the origin, everything happens because she wants it to.
Yeah.
Right? And so it's almost like the Joker just manipulates her and he still has the upper hand in a dominating relationship. Not that like she wants to try to fix him. And that's her ultimate tragedy, and in recent years in the comics she's come out of that and she's become her own woman. Here there's like none of that. Everything she does is because of Joker.
She was like practically like he was using her almost as like a I don't know. I hate to say it, but kind of like a whore at one point. Like the Joker was like literally whoring her out.
I would go sort of the whore analogy works actually, but I was thinking of more of she's his toy in the sense that when he's coming after her later, I wasn't thinking it's because he loves her. It's because that's his plaything and he's like wanting her back. That's how it was coming to me. But to go back to her look and the way she's changed.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily have a problem with what they did in the Arkham games. To me, Harley in the Arkham games was just sort of an evolved version of her. Because don't get me wrong, she had a sort of burlesque thing going on, but it wasn't as, like, believe it or not, is like sexy, if you will, as the outfit she wears in the Arkham games is. Yeah. She's actually still a lot more covered up than she is in this movie.
That's true. Yeah.
In this movie, she's in what is essentially underwear and a shirt.
Yeah.
No, the shirt was underwear anyway.
Okay, fair enough.
Well, because she loses the jacket. Like, it starts off, it's a jacket, shirt, and underwear.
Yeah.
And then she loses the jacket about halfway through.
But the worst thing was, when they gave them all their equipment and things, she holds up the one-piece Harley Quinn thing that you're used to. And it's like, well, where did that go?
Yeah.
It almost seemed like an FU to fans. Like, they had that, like, 2-second flashback where you're like, this looks amazing. Why can't we have this? And then,
well, that was the thing. I couldn't believe they did the jingle hat type thing. Because that's such a comic book thing, and even animated, like... It's one of those things in the real world it shouldn't ever be tried because it's gonna look. It's like the blue and yellow for the X-Men, you know.
And yet, the best they ever looked was in First Class when they had blue and yellow on.
I know. I was gonna say they in the right hands, Matthew Vaughn, they can pull it off, right? But here it felt like they were doing the Alex Ross piece, but it was like it was done by. I don't know, a graffiti artist. It's not that good.
Banksy.
I think.
Well, no, Banksy's good though.
I think. I mean, I don't mind Harley being somewhat sexed up. It kind of fits with a character to me for it to be a little bit like that. But
a little bit, yeah. I just feel like they went over the rails.
Yeah, in this movie, it's just like she's constantly making sex jokes, and there's like this constant kind of innuendo, and it just. Like all this
You're
stuff.
introduced to her. She's doing the whole Cirque du Soleil, sheet dance.
Legs wide apart.
Yeah,
legs are wide apart. Yeah, very.
And that's how we're introduced to Harley Quinn. Not as I thought. The whole Batman bringing her to Arkham.
That leads us actually to start going through the plot then, and we can hit different points as we go through this, right? Because I want to hit key points as we go through this.
Okay.
I'm starting right at the start here. And I'm going to start with a positive. New DC logo on the big screen? Sure, I like that. That was great. I like that.
Inspired.
High point of the film for me. However, then the movie starts, and we get like a wide shot of Belle Reeve. Cue the Fresh Prince of Belle Reeve jokes if you want, right?
Oh, okay.
There you go. You like that. Right, wide shot of Belle Reeve, fine, whatever, right? And then it cuts to Will Smith punching a punching bag. And this is right away when I kind of knew we were in for a bit of a problem here, just on an editing perspective. There's no build up to introducing any of the characters. It just cuts to Will Smith punching a punching bag. Like, and I know this sounds like really anal, but think of any other movie where you have either a hero or a team of heroes, and I know it's villains in this case, but same difference. It's our heroes in this movie. It's our protagonists. It's our team. It's our, you know, you would do it by, maybe you hear the punching bag from down the hall, and we see like outside of the door, we see the name in the door, and then we go in and you build to him, or anything. It just cuts to him. It just cuts to him like it's nothing.
All these like forced prologues from Amanda Waller felt like really weirdly like rushed and like out of place. Like it seemed like they were just trying to shove these like really quick backstories, which they didn't even give to every character.
Tim, it's funny you say that, because all the reports are suggesting that the film was heavily recut and there was reshoots, and Warner Brothers asked that the introductions be pushed to the front of the film. And as a result, the entire first act feels really just like a series of clips. In fact, to be honest, most of the movie feels like a series of clips.
Yeah.
Apparently, they got the people who cut the trailer together to come in and recut the movie.
Because that's who you want.
And let's be honest, it feels like a trailer. The whole thing feels like a trailer. The way it cuts like everything really quickly. All this scenes feel like, you know, whoever was cutting this had ADD.
Yeah, and that's a shame, because I do feel Ayer's a better filmmaker than that. You know.
Well, he's sticking by it though. He's saying this is his director's cut.
And I appreciate that too, because he's gonna own it because his name's on it, and and that's fine. I don't think this is gonna hurt his stock as much as, you know, the stuff that Snyder's done has hurt his, however low it was to begin with. But I feel like Ayer will go back to making like cop and war movies, and he'll be just fine out of this. I don't think they're going to let him do more superheroes. But, I mean, I admire him for sticking by it. He's not out there making excuses like Snyder was after Batman v Superman, going, no, wait, man, you don't understand. See, like, but this is what it was meant.
Matt, that's the thing, though. He actually might have a legitimate excuse, unlike Snyder. He might legitimately have a thing where he had a cut, and then they completely come in and told him to change the whole thing. And this movie is an edited mess. It feels so erratic. Nothing has given time to have weight. Introductions are rushed. There's scenes later on where I flat out just didn't really know what was happening because the editing was so jarbled. You know, later on in the movie when they go to rescue Waller, I didn't even know until like 10 seconds before they revealed it was Waller that they were even there to rescue someone.
Well, because never at once do they say that her meeting spot is in Midway City. Had they even said that shadow cabinet room was in Midway, we might have had a little bit of a hint. But I remember it was about at that point, my wife leaned over to me and goes, I don't know what's going on. And not that she was bored or anything, but it was hard to follow.
I thought they were going after the Enchantress. I didn't even realize that they were trying to rescue someone. And then people later were saying that, like, oh, that was a twist. You find out that they're rescuing Manuel. I was like, how was it a twist? I didn't even know. What was going on.
A twist means that there's stuff set up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And a bigger problem I have, for me, this is a giant plot hole, is after they rescue Waller and Waller goes away in a helicopter, she says, oh, there'll be another chopper, over in a minute for you guys, right? So they're leaving too? So they were just, that was the plan, was to leave. Yeah. They weren't going to try and stop Enchantress. That just kind of happens by happenstance afterwards, because they all decide to just go do it anyway. The plan...
see, I feel if that happened in the comics, it would be a nice, there's another helicopter coming for you guys, and that's the end of that issue, And then we find out that, oh no, they're going to go, the helicopter's taking them to where Enchantress is. But in a movie, you need to seed that out better, because it's a complete story.
Right, but
so
we're getting ahead of ourselves. Right, we're going back.
We need to go back to the beginning, to Ike Barinholtz, why he was in this movie. I don't understand, because I like that guy a lot. He's funny in a lot of things.
Who has this, Matt?
Is he the prison guard?
He's the prison guard. I can't remember the prison guard's name.
Yeah, he was awful. I hated him.
Yeah,
I didn't think he was great.
Yeah.
What's that?
I said I didn't think he was that great in it.
No, and the only reason I bring this up is because I've read reviews saying that he was a shining spot of the movie, and I just don't. I'm like, did we watch the same thing?
He was a poor man's Mark Wahlberg, and I don't like Mark Wahlberg.
But in comedies, I like this guy a lot, and he just, I think he was supposed to be funny.
It was tonally so out of place with everything else that was going on.
And that's what I'm trying to say, Pete.
And they didn't even finish his story. Like, the whole thing was Joker gets to him and he's like, right, blah, 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 you're going to do this. And then, like, you see him pass the phone to Harley, and she's like, oh, yeah, you're so screwed. And he's like, what do you mean by that? And you never see him again. Like, that's never, capitalized on or anything. It's just
You know what would have been great is if Flag finds out about it, right? And you see him in Belle Reve at the end, right? And now he's you know, not a cellmate, but in there with Deadshot, you know, after he's tormented him. Yeah. But that would require thought in the story. But
all right. So that's our setup. We see like Harley and Deadshot in the prison and like a touch of like Croc or whatever. But the main thing is we get Amanda Waller going to a restaurant because she's meeting with whatever general dudes to set up Task Force X.
Not General Lane. That's what I'm calling this guy.
Now, first and foremost, they bring up Superman's death, right? Yep. From Batman v Superman, which, you know, whatever. And they say they've lost a national hero. And
no, you didn't. You guys didn't like him. That was the whole point of the last two movies.
Yeah, what Superman movies were they watching? Because that was not brought across at all. It's almost like we actually had a proper Superman movie.
Yeah.
But that never actually happened. So, where was this? Where was this national hero?
I love that James pointed out when I brought that up in the spoiler thread in Mild Fuzz Facebook group for those that are interested. He goes, oh no, he did share their ideals. That's why he destroyed everything. Because that's what this group's about, is just destroying things. Touche.
And going back to the weird editing, actually, I've got a complaint for this. Amanda Waller walking to the car and she sees the Superman shirts and she's walking in. It cuts to the title, right? You know, she's going to set this up. Cuts to the Suicide Squad title. Big moment. And then it cuts to her still walking into the building.
But see, again, I feel like, as you said, it's music video editing. Like, cut on the action. Her action's walking, so they do that. They just throw it back into where she was left off from.
It was just so like, see if you just have the title come up as she's walking in, fine. Yeah. If you actually cut to a separate black screen with the title, I feel like you at least have to cut to her sitting down in the building or something.
Yeah, no, I get you, Pete, but still, it's, as you said, we don't know how many editors worked on this.
I don't even.
Too bloody many.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Like, I think one guy had this scene, another guy had this scene, and that's where they're going from. But yeah, and the whole meeting about Task Force X.
Oh yeah, this is what I'm getting to is right. So she has this meeting, and they use this to set up the backstory for the major characters. I say major because not everyone gets something. Like Deadshot and Harley get an extended sort of like sequence each, and then the others get like a quick sentence or two. So let's deal with Deadshot's first. Deadshot has a daughter. He's also we see him like we see him take one of his hitman jobs first and see how he haggles and all the rest of it. Yeah, seems was fine. Whatever.
I feel like this is Deadshot, like from the comics that I've read, and so it's you know, it's fair. They kept his daughter in there. He's a hitman. He doesn't miss.
Yeah. So he's with his daughter in Gotham. It's Christmas and Batman shows up, and you know, we have this whole weird moment where his daughter steps in front of Deadshot and like, don't shoot Batman. Honestly, I think it's weird that Batman's actually going after him in front of his daughter in the first place.
Yeah, right? In an alley?
Yeah, exactly. What's he trying to do? Traumatize this kid into being a new superhero?
Well, we're lucky, because if this was Snyder, Batman would have taken the kid hostage, because it's edgy, and said, you're coming with me, Deadshot, or the kid gets it. Yeah. You know?
Just holds a batarang to her throat.
Yeah. Right? But yeah, I thought the same thing going, all right, they got the daughter, they got this, but Batman attacks him in an alley? Like, this is the worst idea in the history of, you know, but I just, again. I did like the look of Batfleck, though, here. It was very imposing.
It was filmed to be more like Batman and not a serial killer on this one. I'll give them that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll give them that. Now, Harley's sort of chopped up flashbacks. I mean, no, there's way more of this because there were scenes that we shot. We saw like set pics of stuff getting shot that's not in the movie. Yep. So they really trimmed this all the way down. And I know Jared Leto's openly been really like negative about them cutting his scenes out. But
well, yeah, because you saw that thing that came out where Will Smith's like, I don't like Jared Leto. And when you read the context, it's because Jared Leto acted like a jerk during filming because he stayed in character as Joker.
Yeah.
And Will Smith ain't got time for that. You know,
well, like wasn't he also like sending him like used condoms and like roadkill and shit or something like that?
Yeah, something.
Well, to be fair, that might have been before he got cast because Leto's a weird dude. So.
But like, I don't know. Like I thought like I thought he did fine with his performance. Like honestly, like I didn't mind his portrayal of the Joker. Just like the look bothered me. But at the same time, when I was watching it, I was like, this doesn't seem like a performance that you really need to get into like that 24-hour demented character research. Like I feel like I don't know. A good actor could have just done that.
Honestly, the performance did kind of bother me because he kept doing this stupid putting thing almost that was kind of he kept making this noise where he was like it was like really like it's hard to even describe it. See, I've mentioned
I know what you're saying.
It sounded a bit like a cat purring actually.
Yeah.
That's what I just said.
I didn't put it together, but yeah,
I heard putting and I was trying to think when he was playing golf.
Putting?
But yeah, purring makes much more sense.
Yeah, putting, yes.
Yeah, I heard putting as well.
Oh, right, okay. So, sorry, my accent is struck again. I do apologize.
Okay. But I felt like his Joker had a sense of, like, he was threatening just standing there. Like, he made you uneasy, which is what you want with Joker.
Yeah, I guess.
It doesn't just have to do with his stupid tattoos.
Honestly, though, I thought he was trying too hard. I thought the scene... everyone's kept saying there was a rapper in it. I'm assuming that was a scene in the club.
Yeah, when we say we want Common in a DC movie... We don't mean as a random thug that Joker takes out.
Okay. See that whole scene? I thought the way he was acting that entire scene was him trying too hard. I thought he was... That was his worst part.
Yeah. Well, that and laying in a pile of weapons, making weapons.
Like stupid.
I don't really like the... like mobster crime boss Joker. Like I like the more insane, demented Joker, which I feel like there's like some stuff here through that. But yeah, I don't want to see like fucking like Tony Soprano Joker like hanging out in a club with like underlings and shit.
He was James Franco's character from Spring Breakers.
Yeah, that's what it reminded me of. It was like that mixed with like a Johnny Depp performance.
Yeah. But that said, I still think that Leto's a good enough actor that he brought a threatening air to Joker.
Well,
more so than Jack Nicholson did.
Yeah, definitely. I'd like to see him do it again, and maybe just him as the main bad guy to really let him go mental.
And a solo Batman movie, rather than being forced into a movie where there's clearly no room for him.
Where he's a cameo for 5 minutes.
Yeah. Some of the other characters are cameos as well. But before we get ahead, so we're at Harley Quinn's like backstory, like flashbacks and stuff.
It's gonna take all day, isn't it?
No, but I've got some key points that I wanted to make that I've been thinking about since.
No, I know. I'm just saying we're not trying to force branching off, and that's what this movie does, though.
Yeah, it's very erratic. Yeah. No,
when you look at stuff, when you try to look at from the timeline perspective, it reminds you of other stuff that happens later.
Now,
and
before I even get to like complaints I've got with how they handled like Joker and Harley's relationship, I actually have this is another big problem. Like I mentioned, like how Deadshot's not even like introduced at the start. He's just like we cut to Will Smith and he's there. Yeah. Same thing happens with Joker, except they tease me into thinking it might not, because the first time we see Joker, he's sitting like on the... I can't remember exactly how he's sitting, but he's getting therapy from Harleen Quinzel, right? Yeah. And he's all like darkened, like you can't see him, the light's not on him, it's like a silhouette almost, right? And I'm like, oh good, they're teasing him, they're building up to him. And then it immediately cut to a shot, like a two-shot of them sitting at a table, and you can see him in full light.
Yeah.
I'm like, why did you hide him all cinematic like in that last shot if you weren't going to do anything with it? Like, you just cut to him. Like, surely if you're going to like keep teasing his appearance, you want a moment where he steps into the light or something like that. You want that moment where, like, oh shit, here's the Joker. You know?
Yep.
Instead, it just cuts to him. It just cuts to him and he's just sitting there. And he's straight
back. Again, it's gratuitous, just like everything else in this movie. Right?
Yeah.
As for, the actual story of her backstory, it felt so abridged, where I'm like, you know what? As a fan of these characters, I would like, you have a Batman movie where he first meets the Joker, right? Assuming you're starting at the start of the timeline, right? where he meets the Joker. He captures the Joker at the end, puts him in Arkham, and then in the next Batman movie, you have a subplot, say, of Joker corrupting Harley, and the cliffhanger at the end of the second movie is him breaking out. And Batman's obviously just dealing with whatever Batman's dealing with for that movie, whether it's Two-Face or whatever villain you want to pick. And here it's just, they crammed it all into about 3 minutes, and it just felt so lacking. It felt there was no weight to it. It just felt like they rushed through it. And then some of the elements felt a bit weird. Like Joker seemed like he actually cared about her at one point, like when she jumped into the chemicals.
Yeah.
What it feels like is just like the really quick Wikipedia version of her origin. Like just
but
like
even then they made
Dr. Arkham, Joker, got it. Like
yeah, and like Pete said, it's 3 minutes. They made it happen so quick. There's no resonance to anything. Like they make it clear she makes the choice to dive into the chemicals, but I don't feel like we had enough time with her to understand the choice of like, hey, I like this guy a lot, that I'm gonna maybe die.
Like,
you know,
how cool would it be, like, if you watched the subplot of this and they built to it, and she was trying to like cure him legitimately for several scenes, and then that scene where she finally calls him Mr. J.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong, it was nice hearing it. I was like, oh, cool, she just called him Mr. J. But that was it. That was the extent of it. It was just purely on a, like, oh, I like that phrase because I'm a fan of the animated series, and, you know.
Same with Puddin'.
Yeah, same with Puddin'.
You know, which again speaks to DC's movies recently, where they throw this stuff in here for the fans, but it's such on a shallow level that doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, it's
just like, oh, hey, cool, look at that.
It's the equivalent of just taking your keys out and going shiny, shiny, shiny. You know, it's the equivalent of that. If I had my keys actually on me, I'd done it properly there, rather than just waving my hand like a tit. But
who would give you keys?
He has house keys, Tim. They don't, like, I know what you think in Scotland, they just, you know, magically close their doors. But he has keys. Come on, man.
Alright, so that's Harley's backstory. And then the other main one we kind of get is Enchantress and Rick Flag, because they have to set up, you know, some plot. And Enchantress is awful in this movie.
Just in general. That character is a Shazam villain that is taken care of in one issue.
Well, yeah, there you go. That about sums up.
That's it. And it's no wonder why Tom Hardy is like, oh, Suicide Squad? That's a nice paycheck. I read the script? Nah, I gotta go make some obscure movie with my dad.
She's just such a generic one-note villain, and you know, if there's one thing I'm really sick of, and not just superhero movies, but just in like blockbusters in general.
Yep.
The third act beam of energy creating a circle in the sky. I have seen that in so many fucking movies over the past like 10-15 years. I'm done. Stop it. We've had enough.
Please. Because we don't even get to know what her weapon does. We just know it's a beam of light in the sky.
And
do you think that...
Oh, sorry, Tim. There you go.
I was just gonna say, do you think like people are afraid to have like a more intimate like third act that, you know, could just be like, you know, a couple of people fighting? Like it's like everything has to be ratcheted up to this like, you know, insane nth degree, like world ending, like the sky being torn apart level.
Yeah, I mean, Civil War did kind of do it. They kind of get away with it though, because they had a big action set piece in the middle of the movie instead. The last movie that I really remember doing it is actually kind of Dark Knight. Like that. I mean, the end of that movie was, you know, negotiating on a rooftop.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's,
you know?
It's more psychological than it is anything else.
Yeah. But obviously, I don't have a problem with them doing a big action scene at the end. Like that's really not the issue.
Big action scene's fine, but like you're saying, a big beam of light, because that was Avengers. That was
Fantastic Four.
Turtles.
Yeah, Fantastic Four, Ninja Turtles.
Yeah. So many, and it's not even that they're all bad. There's a lot of good movies that have had that, but it's just so many have had it now over the past like decade and 2 decades.
It's a weak trope by now.
Yeah,
you can do better.
Yeah, so that was an issue. I felt like there wasn't even a plot to get to that point. It felt like she had one chance to escape and like unleash her brother, who, by the way, thanks for explaiking who her brother is, what he can do.
Oh, you mean the Destroyer armor from Thor?
Yeah, there you go. That was him. And like, and then it just immediately kind of just happens. Like, there's a thing in Liberty City, and
like it made it seem like they had the Enchantress for like a while now, like maybe studying or working with her for a while. But then it's like, did she just not realize all of a sudden, like, oh wait, I can go and like unleash my brother and stuff? Like, it
Well,
seemed
I
like it
don't
just
think.
happened out of nowhere.
Yeah, well, they made a big show about the heart, and I
Yeah,
think that's the key. This is how I put it together in my mind as I'm watching it. Is she didn't know they had her heart. They thought it was
yeah.
hidden, or she thought it was hidden. So, but then again, that makes no sense either. Because then how are they going to kill her? And she just goes off on her own.
Yeah,
Thank
because
God, Air.
she makes a point of stabbing, like Waller stabs the heart whenever she
Yeah.
steps out of line.
Yeah.
But then her brother can magically just give her another heart or break the spell or whatever. Like, sure, just Deus Ex Machina, no reason,
Yeah.
whatever.
Deus Ex Magica.
Oh, there you go.
Also, like, I never really bought the romance between Flag and June.
No, because it was completely unnecessary, and that ruined Rick Flag as a character. Not that I'm tied into Rick Flag, because come on,
Yeah.
his name's Rick Flag, and but like he's doing this because he loves this archaeologist chick.
Yeah. I feel like there was no like I never got a feel for his character. Like at one point he seemed like super like moral high ground guy, but then there's other times when like, Waller kills all the people in the room and he's just like, okay, whatever, and he says something like,
Yeah.
we all kill
And
or
actually,
whatever.
to go back to the romance with whatever
June.
Enchantress says when she's not. Yeah, June.
June
There you
Moon.
go.
June Moon.
June Moon. What a fantastic name. Yeah. Do you know what the problem with that romance is? Like, I mean, there's a lot more wrong with it, but the first fundamental problem with that romance is, literally, we are just told it's a thing.
Right.
Waller literally just says, like, or I can't remember the exact lines, but she says, yeah, they started having a relationship. He grew to care for her, and that's it.
Which is what I wanted.
She pushed it.
Yeah.
Yeah. She put them in a room together for a long time so they'd fall in love.
And I feel like that was like a problem with Waller as well, is like people kept saying how like she's, like this great manipulator that can get whatever she wants, but you never really see it. It's just kind of like, I made this happen.
I did like Viola Davis's performance though, at least more so than Angela Bassett in Green Lantern, because I felt this was closer to the Wall character that I've been familiar with in the comics. But still, like Tim just said, we're just told she's a master manipulator. We don't show her manipulating the military or even the squad in any way, except with the the blow-ups in their necks.
Yeah.
So
yeah, but that's not even manipulating. Like, you want to see Amanda Waller manipulate with words and trick people into doing her bidding. Like, she has a line says like, making people do what they don't want to is my job. I'm like, well, great, let me see that. And literally, a bomb's in their neck. Which, don't get me wrong, that's something the Suicide Squad should have. That's always been a part of their thing, is that they have like a kill switch to deal with them. But there should be more to Amanda Waller than just that. There should be actual, coercing and being that voice in the shoulder, that kind of thing.
Yep.
But so I mean, fuck knows. Like, the next thing I want to jump to is actually them. Like, the thing happens and they go to the city, because I can't remember anything really, like, other than them like all meeting and getting their gear out and stuff and the Eminem song playing.
Yeah, no, that was Deadshot and his guns. I thought that was kind of cool. Just because we're getting to see him. That whole where the gun was loaded or not, and that whole thing, and he can just tell that it was.
That was the one scene I did think was like kind of funny, when he like immediately points it to that guy, and I forget what the guy says, but he was like, "Oh, like, come on."
Yeah, of course this was going to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there was that, and then like he just said, I don't remember much. I know Boomerang shows up at one point,
and he punches some people. He doesn't really get. Obviously, he gets a little introduction, and we get the cameo of the Flash, which fine. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's a nice touch to have the Flash be the one who captured him, because he is a Flash villain.
Boomerang. But he looks like he's wearing football gear that you got at the Goodwill.
Oh yeah,
like, it doesn't fit. The helmet's too big. Like
the costume looks like shit. I completely agree with that. I'm just saying, at least it's a nice touch that it's the Flash that captured him, because he is a Flash villain. So
can I say that I also admire Boomerang using a dustbuster to suck up the jewels? instead of putting them into a velvet bag. He's just like, nah, man, I'm gonna use a vacuum because it's cool.
Yeah.
By the way, Jai Courtney, like, this guy is typically a terrible actor, right? But he has this track record of just being an absolute shite. Like, Terminator Genesis, shite. What was he in before that was terrible?
Die Hard.
Yeah,
5?
that was it. Die Hard 5. That was the one.
Actually,
And here's the thing. I know Pete's going to be mad at me for this, but I really like Boomerang in this movie because he was such a caricature. I couldn't not laugh.
that
I'm
actually,
just like, they thought this was a good idea. He has a boomerang drone. Now, I'm not a physicist, but I know when you throw a boomerang, it loops.
yeah.
So if you put a camera on that, it's not going to give you perfect drone footage.
I will actually say one thing I actually did kind of like in the movie to an extent was Captain Boomerang. Like I did like that they didn't really shy away from it because I feel like usually in these superhero movies, if they have something that's a little sillier, they'll be like, "Oh yeah, he uses these weapons, but they're not actually boomerangs. They're like heightened like sensory returners or something like they try to give it some dumb like real world meaning." So I did.
Beast.
Yeah, I did like that they were like, no, this guy's name's Captain Boomerang. He uses boomerangs. Sometimes he uses high-tech boomerangs, but I did like that they didn't shy away from that silly aspect of it.
Yeah, no, they went in balls deep with everyone's stuff, and I do appreciate that. Killer Croc is Killer Croc. Harley's got a hammer, and Deadshot's got his mask, and Boomerang's called Captain Boomerang. They full on use all the names.
Because Captain's across his chest for some reason.
Yeah. Like I appreciate that. It's just I also want good writing and directing to go along with it.
Right.
Well, of course, and again, that goes back to what we talked about, where they're just gonna throw this stuff in there for the fans.
Actually,
and most people are just gonna eat it up. They're not gonna look at it critically and go, "Yeah, that's all cool," but what about the story?
Yeah, that's actually, I'm glad you bring it up, Matt, because this is something I did want to touch on as well. When I went to see the movie, there was this person sitting behind me, and as soon as the movie started, he yelled out, "Fuck Marvel," and then throughout the entire movie proceeded to, and I apologize for being a little crass here, but basically ejaculate over every DC reference. Anytime, like as soon as they showed Batman, he went, "Oh!" And then like when they showed Flash, he was like, "Oh my God!" And like every fucking little DC thing, like every time a new character popped up, everything he went, "Oh, oh, oh God!" It was like the most annoying thing. I don't know.
Do you know what? I wish I could feel that way. Because I would totally be. I wouldn't be making the audible noises, right? But I would be fangirling on the inside so hard if the movie was actually good, and I'd be like, "Oh my God, there was this thing and there was that thing and there was."
Yeah.
Well,
So I was doing the same thing. Well, I was doing the same thing, but just in a different tone. Like I was like, "Oh God."
Yeah. I was gonna say, like, I've done that in these superhero movies, but on Marvel side, like in Avengers, not audibly, of course, but like there's fist bump moments, like in the first Avengers on the helicarrier, when Thor calls Mjolnir to him, and he uppercuts the Hulk, and there's that slow motion shot.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just like, as a Thor fan, I'm like, hell yeah, that's cool. But I'm also not going like, oh my God, yeah, slower. Like,
oh dear. But actually, I want to jump back. I forgot to mention something during one of the Harley flashbacks. See when she goes in the water and Batman like rescues her. Yeah. Right now, I know the whole point of the thing was that he was going from mouth to mouth, and she was doing the whole. If you've seen the Sandlot.
The Sandlot.
That's exactly that's what I thought of. That's exactly the exact scene I thought of. But and she's faking and goes for a kiss, but the entire time it actually just looks like he's going for a kiss. Like the way he sort of goes down.
Netflix, like, well, she's unconscious. She's not going to remember.
Like it just felt weird. It just looked like he was going for a kiss the entire time. Yeah. And then
that's a Harley thing though that I can accept because I could see her doing that to mess with Batman.
I can as well. That's not to say I'm complaining though. I thought it was poorly executed because it looked like he was going for a kiss the entire time. Yeah. And then after that, he just punches her.
He caresses her face.
Yeah. I did kind of like that scene though, where he did jump in the water and like the car
Yep.
is at the bottom illuminating with the headlights, and then you see her, and then she like like lashes out at him like real quick. Like I thought that was
And
kind of
it
a cool
also
scene.
shows Joker doesn't care that much about her because he left
Oh
her in
yeah,
the car.
yeah, he didn't give a
So
shit.
I like that too. That, like Pete said, she's a plaything more than she's a relationship to that
Yeah.
Joker.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, I will say I did like Robbie as Harley though. I thought she did some of the mannerisms quite well, and
yep.
she sold things like pudding and whatever else, and you know,
Yeah, I thought she
Marnie.
did
The
a great
accent
job. I just wish
was
better script and
dodgy.
stuff she had to work with.
Yeah.
My only critique was her accent. It's floated in and out. She's
Mm.
Australian,
So, yeah.
but one minute she's doing a Jersey accent, then going back to a, let's call it a stock standard American, and then goes back to a Jersey. It was just, that distracted me a little bit.
Well,
yeah,
and we know she can do an American accent well
Yeah.
from movies she's done, even in New York. Like in
Wolf
Wolf of Wall Street. So
and that was thick the entire time, that movie.
Yeah.
So
exactly. I didn't realize she was Australian until I looked her up. So after I seen Wolf of Wall Street.
Yeah, me too. I didn't know she was Australian until after I looked it up.
Yeah.
But
Is it bad that I'm going to admit that I didn't know she was Australian until I saw Wolf
no,
of Wall
that,
Street
that,
either?
that I think that's just a testament to
But
Or
again,
skill,
and that's
like,
where
you know.
I argue with people that are like, "Oh, she's just a body. She's not that good of an actress." They go, "No, everything I've seen her in, she's been
Awesome.
good to great." So even Focus, which was not as inspired, she was good in. So
Yeah, no, she's a good actress. I mean, the problems with this movie are rarely to do with the cast. The cast are fine.
yeah.
It's everything else.
What about? So can we touch on Croc real quick? What do you guys think of Croc? Even though he's hardly in the movie.
Yeah, he's a cameo. He's basically a cameo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did like that they gave him the Louisiana kind of accent. Like, it felt like the Azarello, Bermejo version of the character. Because
Yeah.
when it's introduced, it says that he has a skin condition with cannibalistic tendencies.
I'll admit, I kind of wanted him to be bigger.
Yeah,
He was
me
a little
too.
bit too humanoid. I would have liked if he was more. If you watch The Flash, like the size of King Shark kind of thing.
Yeah.
Well, I thought it was weird. I thought they made him look bigger in the beginning, but then like in the scene towards the end
As
where
it-
he actually takes all his clothes off, I'm like, whoa, that's
Yeah.
how big he is?
Well, and that actor's pretty big, right? Because that's Mr. Echo from Lost.
Yeah, the hell.
Right?
Screw trying to pronounce his actual
I'm
name.
not. Yeah.
Adwell something.
But he's a pretty big dude too, so I thought that was kind of a missed opportunity because when he's standing next to Joel Kinnaman, who's a big guy too, he's about 6'3". He looked fairly big. He looked like he was taller than 6'3". But then when you see him standing next to the Scott Eastwood and the other soldiers, he's like, mine and Tim's height, it seems.
Yeah.
I'm actually a pretty big fan of Killer Croc.
Yeah.
Like in general in the comics and stuff. I feel like some people kind of feel like he's a doesn't really have like a lot of character and personality, which is probably true in most of the way he's portrayed. But I actually really like him. There's a really good episode of the animated series that I like, where he befriends like a little circus freak. And, if you remember that
Of
episode.
course, Tim likes the weird episode.
But
But I thought,
the problem I think in the movie is like he was just barely he was barely had anything to do, was barely in it, and then there's like a few scenes like in the bar where I feel like they tried to inject this personality into him, where he's kind of like, like, I'm beautiful and stuff, but then it was like at that point it's like
it's too late.
you can't just like all of a sudden give him a personality for this guy that's been like quiet the whole movie.
Yeah, we're at the end of
Yes,
Act 2
like-
at that point.
Well, yeah, he has nothing to do until the water scene happens.
Yeah.
Like, you see him kind of punch some guys here and there, but he's not doing a lot of the action. He's kind of just in the background until they need him to swim.
Yeah.
So-
Which is kind of a waste.
So
I feel like they were trying to go for a Drax thing, but didn't really work.
So to go
Yeah.
back to the sequence of events, right? So they all get their gear.
Like
And
5 minutes in.
yeah, they all get their gear. No, that's just quite far in now, actually, when they get their gear. They all get their gear because they're all going on to this mission in Midway City. Slipknot shows up, and we're like, oh, Slipknot's here. They've not even give him like a flashback or any backstory. He's just, his entire backstory is that he can scale a building like no one else.
I feel like if they really wanted to do a fake out, like they should have gone all in and given him like a backstory and stuff to show like.
We should have seen him trying to take down Batman with ropes and whatnot, and Batman's going in and out of them, and he punches them out in one punch, right? Yeah. And that's how he ends up in Belle Reve. But dude, this guy's great with ropes.
Do you know what? You can do one of two things. You can treat it like we all know he's clearly the guy who's just going to be there to prove that the explosive in the head's going to work, right?
The red shirt.
And if you're going to do that, then don't put him in the posters, in the trailers, because we're going to know the whole time. And at least respect the fact that when he shows up, we know that's what his purpose is, right? Or you do what Matt said, you treat him properly and give him the backstory, give him the everything, and make it feel like he's a big main character.
I mean, that's what I said, but whatever.
Sorry, you said? Sorry, I'm mixing.
We were agreeing on that, Timmy. But yeah, he's
sorry.
I just remember us talking about this when we used to cover news on 1.21, and I remember Pete looking at the poster going, well, Slipknot's not making it out of the first act. And that's all I could think of watching the movie when he goes out so quick after, which that's another reason I like Boomerang, because Boomerang's testing it.
Can I ask you guys real quick too, because I consider myself a very knowledgeable in terms of comics, and I've read a lot of Marvel. I also read a lot of DC. I feel like I know a lot of obscure characters. I have never heard of Slipknot in my life.
Oh no, I'd never heard of him.
No, he's a I'm pretty sure he's a expendable Suicide Squad character from early on.
Okay.
So
nah, he was new to me. And then when they're all getting ready to go on their mission and they're all getting the plane, then Katana just shows up out of nowhere.
Yeah. Oh yeah. By the way, she's here too.
Yeah, but that was it.
She has nothing to do. I feel that was one of the reshoots. Is they did the scene with her origin because she just stands around with a sword.
Yeah. And
actually,
it's so cool. And if you're going to put her in there, it's like they put her in there just so they could have a moment where Rick's like, oh, by the way, the soul of her dead husband's in the sword.
Yeah.
And it's like
this would probably be a good question for Dan, because you haven't read that much of the comics and stuff. But I think for us, we know who Katana is. We know the deal with her husband and the sword and stuff. As someone that doesn't really know the comics, does that seem crazy weird, out of left field? When you see that stuff, is it kind of what the fuck is going on?
No, not crazy left field, because I know it's DC world and
that makes sense.
Anything can sort of happen type thing. I mean, you got someone who comes from another planet who gets stronger than our sun, but that's accepted. So I had no problem with the sword. I just didn't know who the hell she was.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's fair. They don't give her much. We've not even mentioned El Diablo, who... So I've seen a lot of people online saying that he's a sort of standout because he ended up having a lot more depth than they thought he was. I think that's kind of bullshit. I think it's really heavy-handed and forced and not really that good. I also think that other than a couple of scenes where they're trying to take him out of the tank, you barely actually see him until the bar scene when he actually sets up his backstory. And it kind of feels like, right, we're setting him up so he can have his big redemption moment, and then that's it. He's a goner.
Well, I do like that too, that he's different in that he's well, I'm not fighting. They can put a bomb in my neck, but they can't make me actually fight.
Yeah. Well,
I like that twist on it.
Well, what I thought what they were going to do, which to me would have felt more poignant, would be have him the whole movie be like, no, I'm not going to fight, I'm not going to do this, blah, blah. Then at the end, really amp it up. But then they have that scene in the middle where, Deadshot is just and actually, I'm not even going to say Deadshot. I'm going to say Will Smith, because there were times he seemed like Deadshot and there are times he seemed like Will Smith. And this was a very Will Smithy part where he's just basically like a schoolyard bully, tapping him on the head, be like, come on, do something. He's like, you want to see something? You want to see something? And then and I was like, oh, they just spoiled the big reveal of his. You're setting up a guy that doesn't want to use his powers, and you think that's going to be the big reveal at the end, and then halfway through he gets it just from Will Smith being annoying to him.
Also, you just reminded me of the elevator scene. Ultron.
Jesus Christ, Matt.
You know what happens. Also, the elevator scene with Harley, right, where she's taking out those creatures.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
She's going up the elevator. She gets to her floor, and the squad's already there. So, did they take an elevator?
They had Slipknot's old equipment.
Yeah, they scale the building like no one else.
So was it just me that got confused in the geography of that?
Yeah,
Did she go up and come down?
Nah, they went up. It was weird. I don't understand. Someone else brought up. I think it was James brought up the point of. Wait a minute. They blew up Slipknot's head. Slipknot's head. Just for like going up the building. Like technically, she was rushing ahead. Shouldn't they have at least threatened to blow her head up?
Yeah.
Well, but Slipknot was trying to escape.
No, I get that, but you think there'd at least be a moment of like, where's she going? Do I need to blow her head up? It was just let's run after her kind of thing.
That's true, point. But yeah, that was it. That whole sequence again. We already brought it up earlier that they're there for the high value target, the HVT, which they never tell you. You just have to figure it out what those initials mean, and we think that they're there for Enchantress. Despite the fact that there's no energy beam and garbage in the sky. And they show up and it's Waller in the command room. And that's when we see her shoot all the analysts there, I guess.
And Rick Flag, who seemed fairly moral for the whole movie, all of a sudden is like, yeah, fine, whatever.
Well, whatever. They're just... I feel like that's the alternate ending to Jason Bourne. Someone just walks in and pops everybody in the analyst room. And he's just like, cool.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah,
but yeah, and then Waller and Joker shows up, so they all get to the roof. Joker shows up in a commandeered helicopter.
No,
because why not?
So something I kind of had the impression that like the city was like quarantined. It was probably like super hard to get.
Yeah, they were evacuating. I think they said.
But like the Joker just kind of like strolls in there, like I don't know. It seemed like very.
Well, to be fair, he hijacked one of their choppers, so presumably he went to like a military base or something and stole it and flew in.
Because we saw him get into the guy that created the bomb or the neck bombs.
Yeah,
we see him get into that lab, so there's precedent for him to hijack a helicopter. It would have been overly much for him to paint a smile like the one on his hand, which just reminded me how much I hated that.
Yeah,
it's just so weird. What's the focus of this movie? Are they trying to save Waller? Are they trying to kill the Enchantress? Are they trying to stop the Joker that's coming in? Like it's so over the place.
And a lot of
they're just trying to go ahead, Dan.
I was about to say, there's my big problem with this one film. There are three major storylines, more or less 3 films, all crammed into 90 minutes.
Yeah, you've got Enchantress, you've got the Waller like saving her plot, and you've got the Joker's coming for Harley.
Exactly. Yeah. You've got 3 good films right there, but they've all smashed it into one.
Yeah.
Like really, all I would have liked to have seen is the story of this team coming together and becoming a team.
Yeah.
Instead, it's like from the very beginning, we're just kind of supposed to like understand that. We know these characters and that they're going to be a team. Like it's, and admittedly, it is like, the Suicide Squad is just a group of villains like forced together.
Yeah, with a handler like Rick Flag or whoever else.
Yeah,
but
in the comics,
it's funny to
keep them in line.
You bringing up this point is that going to make me jump to probably the moment where I basically in my head said, "Okay, fuck you, movie." I mean, it had been bad up until this point, obviously the whole time, but you said, "Yeah, they're thrown together," and then. Like, they have a little bit of bonding in the bar, but then El Diablo, in the big final fight, before he does his whole proper El Diablo hulking out thing, he says to the team, I already lost one family, I'm not going to lose another. Where the fuck did that come from? When did this bonding happen?
I blacked that out, Pete. I don't remember him saying that at all.
I remember that.
Trust me, Matt, he said it.
No. I believe you. I can tell the passion in your voice that it happened, and Dan laughing that it happened. I don't remember that. Had I remembered that, that would have shaded the entire becoming an Aztec fire god thing.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but doesn't like Harley also say something right before she takes out Enchantress, like something like like, oh, and like one last thing, you shouldn't have messed with my friends or something like along those lines.
Yeah, I think so.
It's like they watched Guardians and wanted a We Are Groot moment, and they don't deserve it.
And it's weird with Harley, because it's not like Harley gets over the Joker. She thinks he's dead. Because so when that movie ends and he shows up and breaks her out, she's like, oh, hi, Puddin'! Like, she's all happy about it, right? And it's like, but you've had this, well, kind of, it's been really forced and it didn't really make sense, but you've had this bonding thing, and it's like, here's my thing with the Suicide Squad, right? You've got this team of villains who theoretically should become a team of anti-heroes, right? They should not become goody two-shoes, but they should have a bit of growth and become... Because Deadshot kind of did that. He did that in Secret Six in the comics, you know?
Exactly.
That's what Secret Six was. Like, him and Catman and whoever else was on that team, they all kind of had this thing where they became more anti-heroes. And... with Suicide Squad, you kind of want that. You kind of want them to become kind of heroes along the way and be someone be a team that you can kind of root for, which is why I think Harley Quinn is an awful choice to put in the team, because she can't really grow. She's meant to be a psychopath.
Yeah, and that was the problem adding her in New 52. She was never a Suicide Squad character before the New 52. And it felt like they just threw her in there for marketing purposes. Like, hey, we're going to put this book with King Shark, who's now a Hammerhead. Because it looks cool.
And that was, I think that was when she started getting proper skimpy as well.
Yep, it was.
Yeah.
It was that and I guess Arkham. I don't play video games, but I'll take your guys' word on that.
Arkham wasn't... Like I said, I had like a burlesque thing going, but it wasn't overly skimpy.
Right, but up until then, she had dressed in the clown costume regularly.
I guess, like, with the Arkham stuff, too, like, that it also did fit into the look of the game. Like, it wasn't like she was the only one that kind of had that look. But I don't know. To me, that just kind of feels like the first time like seeing her. Like, oh, this isn't like the classic Harley, and it's like a little weird, sexy juggalo thing they're trying to do.
I don't have a
problem. You can't put those two words together. Sexy and juggalo. They don't.
Yeah. I don't have a problem with Harley's look in the games, because to me Harley seems like a character who would have a lot of looks. Like, she seems like someone who'd be very erratic like that. But yeah, so yeah, back to the movie. Where were we in the timeline of things?
Well, we're jumping to the end stuff, but something I did also want to bring up that we skipped over though is the scene where Harley is like escaping and Waller hires Deadshot to take her out. And again, it's felt like another one of those forced, like, oh, we're all friends now. But, like, all we've gotten from Deadshot the whole movie is he just wants to be free and see his daughter. That's all he wants. And then, like, Waller is finally, like, in a position where, you know, she can give him anything that he wants. And he doesn't take it because I guess they're a team now that love each other.
Well,
in the space of an hour.
Yeah. And, like, the whole setup, because he keeps telling you that I don't miss. And then, you know, he shoots her, and she goes down, which, is she telepathic? Does she know that that's the exact time?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like he should have grazed her leg, because she was swaying and whatnot, and then that's where he could look at Waller and go, yeah, I missed.
But do you know the thing is though? See if they'd sold us this, see if we'd actually seen them bond, that would have been a great moment where he's like, I missed, because they'd set up the whole thing where he doesn't miss.
Yep.
Yeah. And they could have easily like had her like save his life earlier on or something, like, you know, like something little like that he could be like, nah, like, you know, I owe her or something, and
or even just like have him kind of help her get over the fact that her boyfriend's a complete psychopath or something, you know, like some sort of bonding. I don't know.
I was kind of curious if they were trying to set something up between those two because they have a thing in the New 52.
Yeah, it felt like it was there, and I'm glad they didn't act on it completely, because that would have been just too much.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't buy the Harley in this movie having a proper relationship with anyone.
No. Well, even the Joker's not a proper relationship, because that's, I mean, again, the whole common scene shows that he was like, oh, you like her? Like, and I know he probably wasn't actually giving her to Common, but, you know, that's not a relationship.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, dear. So, apparently there's tons of stuff cut out of the final fight as well, because there's a couple of shots in the trailer that imply that there's maybe a scene where Enchantress, like, possesses some of them. It makes them fight each other, and that's just gone. That's all been chopped out.
That's good, because I don't need more heroes fighting heroes after Batman vs Superman.
No. Villains fighting villains.
Well, villains fighting protagonists fighting protagonists.
There you go. There you go. You can have that.
But I did like that Enchantress tries to stop them by essentially giving visions of what they want. I thought that was a nice touch, because she's magic. Play up the magic aspect of it a little more.
Now this was...
I like the visions. Like, see when they first get in and she gives them the visions of like the perfect happiness, and we see like Harley with the the regular Joker, you know, and all the other ones she made people see. The one where she made the daughter stand in front of him and say, "Don't shoot him, don't shoot her."
Yeah.
I thought was like really weird and contrived, because I didn't quite get what the message was trying to say to me here, because he does it anyway.
Right.
Especially when surely the arc of the movie for Deadshot is that, because he even says at one point, I don't want to die and have my daughter think I'm a piece of shit.
Right.
Surely the arc for him should be that he's not going to be a complete, like...
Well, he doesn't have to shoot anymore.
Yeah.
Like, he can stop. Yeah.
What really bothered me about that scene was like, about like the visions and stuff in general, is like same thing with like the flashbacks in the beginning. It's like, if this is going to be like a team with a bunch of different people, like I feel like you should do it for each person. Like it was weird. There's like, we'll do it for this person, and then that's it. That's done. Okay. And then like for whatever, like for some reason, like was it El Diablo was able to just like break free of his, and then like able to break everyone else out, even though I don't know.
Yeah. I kind of got that. I got that he was so torn up by what he'd done to his family that
like, he still had the guilt. No matter what, he's gonna live with that the rest of his life.
The faking it just wouldn't work. Like he would see through it because he still felt it. So I got that. So fair play to the movie there. That's a fine point. It's just so then the fight kind of happens and
Diablo becomes an Aztec fire demon.
And takes care of...
is that what he is? I was trying to figure it out. Was he the devil, a demon, or a mythical creature?
Not a clue, man. But he does it, and he fights this big destroyer armor guy. And
to be fair, back when that first image released and I said Slipknot was a goner, I also said that El Diablo was a goner as well.
Yeah.
Which he was, so,
Yeah, and then Croc swims to help the military guys plant the bomb for whatever reason.
Oh, yeah, hold on. Before we move on, let's talk about this fucking bomb. Let's talk about this bomb. Because if we're talking about plot holes, we're talking about this bomb. So there's a scene earlier on in the movie where we see, like, after the train thing happens and this brother dude's, like, causing all this chaos, Flag and June Moon go to this subway. And they're there to do something, and this is when she like turns and goes AWOL. And there's no sense in that scene that there's anything missing. It's not presented in such a way where we feel like we've missed a part of that scene. And yet, just before they go into fight at the end, Rick Flag's like, "Oh, by the way, okay, here's the full story." And we see that he was holding a bomb during this scene, and there was these extra parts of it, and like. Why did they just leave the bomb there? Why was it when he left, when it all went pear-shaped, why would you leave the bomb just sitting there in the subway? We don't see anything to explain that. He's a soldier who left this device that can blow up the whole subway building, whatever, and it's just sitting there. So that's just there so that we have a reason for Croc to swim at the end of the movie, basically.
Well, just like when Lois drops the trident. Right? We need a reason for her to go through the water.
Well, like, what really bothered me about this is, like, earlier we show Katana, like, slices off the brother's arm, and it just grows back.
It grows back, yeah.
So I'm like, oh, this guy's, like, invincible. But then, like, a bomb, like, just completely kills him.
Yeah, the entire time I was thinking, how's the bomb going to kill him? We've already seen that his limbs, like, grow back after they've chopped off. So I thought it wasn't going to work, and they were going to have to think of another way. But no, it worked. It just worked.
No, it's a bomb and an Aztec fire demon that take him out.
The fire demon was
combine the two.
He was just holding him in place, though. Like, oh, God.
Well, and he got his essence sucked back, and he became El Diablo again. Like, and basically told him to fuck you.
Yeah.
As he blew up. Yeah, it was the whole thing's a mess, and then the whole. It looks like Harley's gonna flip sides because Enchantress, which I swear the only reason Carla de la, whatever her name is, took this role is because she had to wear less clothes than everybody else. And she was cool with that. Because her Enchantress costume, and then her Enchantress priestess costume with the big stupid headpiece and whatnot. Like, because she doesn't do anything but wiggle while she's like in character. So,
real quick, can we talk about some of Enchantress's dialogue?
Oh shit! By all means,
go ahead.
Just like two things that really stuck out at me. First of all, I really kind of hate the term metahuman. Like, just like I'm already all into this universe. Just say like fucking superheroes and shit. And then it especially sounded weird coming from the Enchantress, who's supposed to be like this ancient god. Like, you're telling me this like ancient, I'm assuming like thousands of years old god is going to refer to these people as metahumans, like a weirdly new age scientific-y term.
I don't know if I noticed the metahuman. I don't have a problem with the term metahuman in general. I agree it's an issue her saying it. There was another line she said though that was really present day.
Well,
what was it?
The other thing she says is like, I think maybe like Rick Flag says something like, "Oh, I'm gonna kick your ass," or "I'm gonna go kill you," or something like that, and she says, "You don't have the balls."
Yeah, that was it. That was the one that made me cringe. Why does this 4,000-year-old being say you don't have the balls? That is like the most ridiculous thing ever. 4,000 years old.
Yeah.
You don't have the balls.
It's so ridiculous.
Well, that whole character was ridiculous and completely unnecessary to the movie. I rather the rumored them going after Joker than Enchantress.
Well, it'd have been one less character, and he wouldn't have been as forced into the movie.
Right.
It'd have made more sense, at least that way.
Right, and you make her the villain, and she's just doing, villain things because she's a villain. Like, I don't know why she wants to take over. Does she want to take over the world, or does she just want to make everybody into those weird mutant?
Does she want to destroy it? I don't know.
Yeah, like what?
My thing too, and I know this is like a complaint they have, like, with every fucking superhero movie when there's a big disaster. Why don't they call this guy? Why don't they call this guy? But in this movie, it felt particularly like noticeable because you did actually see other superheroes earlier in the movie. Like, we know Batman and Flash exist because they're
right. Batman I can accept because Batman, even in his plane, would take a couple of hours. So say he doesn't even he's not aware of what's going on until the beam of lights like there's like okay, takes a couple of hours. But the Flash really bothers me. The Flash can be there in like 10 seconds from like Central City. He can be there. Why is he not there?
Also, like, and is Midway City, that's a real city in DC, right?
Yes, that's what I was going to bring up. Up until recently, it was home to Hawkman and Hawkgirl.
Okay, because I kept trying to think of who's the hero in that city.
Yeah, and then they relocated to St. Roque, Louisiana.
Okay.
So during the 80s, the Thanagar stuff was in Midway City. So how cool would it have been just to like have a cameo of Hawkman and Hawkgirl? Because especially with the Enchantress being magic, like, and their whole reincarnation thing.
Yeah.
Like, they might have some familiarity with this being or whatever. But no, of course not, because DC can't be cool like that.
Yeah. I don't know. It just felt like if it...
I was going to say, although adding more characters probably is a bad thing, because this was already overstuffed.
Yeah, it was.
Necessarily.
Overstuffed. Absolute mess in terms of editing. The soundtrack was intrusive as hell and didn't... it just... Like, some of them... I legitimately think some of those songs, when they were played, actually conflicted with what was going on in the scenes.
Yeah.
It's like David Ayer was just so concerned with trying to feel cool by having like these classic rock songs play at various points. I don't think they all fit. And they were too frequent, so...
No, you're right.
I think I'm going to agree there.
Yeah.
It's funny, like, when you're talking about like the editing just being a mess. I just had like a picture in my mind of just like Jared Leto as the Joker, just like editing the movie.
Do you know what gets me though? This is now 2 in a row that's had like really bad editing. Like both this and Batman v Superman had really poor editing.
Well, and like we talked about, it's the studio interference. I think if you're that confident in your filmmakers, you leave them alone and just let's see what it is. And I feel like they've had their hands in it from the very beginning.
Yeah.
because everything's so tones don't match.
But the tone's all over the place as well. But what gets me about the editing though is the editing's the sort of thing that we never talk about. When the editing's good, we don't talk about it, and that's like most of the time. It's one of those things where you don't really notice that something's misplaced until it's bad, because otherwise you don't. It's like sound mixing. You don't talk about good sound mixing because it's usually good and you don't notice it.
But when it's really good, like with Whiplash, right?
Yeah, maybe
like we talked about the editing and sound editing and Whiplash because that was the whole point of that movie.
Yeah, because it did something a little bit different. But most of the time, the whole point of editing and sound mixing and stuff like that
is to blend.
It's to blend and go unnoticed. It's to be seamless.
Yeah.
Right, because you're assembling the story, and you shouldn't be questioning things.
Yeah. Whereas with this, every 2 minutes, I was like, wait, why did they cut to that? Why did they cut to that? What's with this shot? Like, it just, the pacing was just, it was.
I will say, I'll give Ayer credit on the action sequences. They were, at least for me, better than Snyder's. I feel he has a better eye for action than Snyder's brand.
Well, I like that it wasn't all that annoying, like slow mo and like
just that one time at the end with the bomb getting thrown with ultra slow motion.
Oh yeah, that was like it was like super. I was like, come on, speed up, guys.
Dear. So yeah, they save the day. They go back to prison. Deadshot has this really kind of inappropriate conversation with his daughter where he's talking about killing people to explain trigonometry.
Yeah. I kind of liked. I'm not gonna lie. I was like, of course, that's all he knows is trigonometry for killing people. That's how he's going to explain it to his daughter.
I feel like it would have been fine, except for like in the beginning, he made such a big deal about being like, she's like, "Daddy, do you kill people?" I was like, "What? No, like, honey, I don't." But then like at the end, he's now he's kind of like, "Yeah, killing people,"
and I get paid to do it.
So they all go back to their cells, the ones that are alive.
Well, everybody but Slipknot and Diablo, let's be honest.
Oh yeah, obviously. Harley gets her espresso machine, which was kind of annoying because you knew she got that because it was in the trailer, her taking the sip out of the cup.
Yeah. And she gets her bed. They give her a bed back.
True. Croc gets the BET network. Yeah.
I can't even.
Dear. What did Boomerang get?
No.
He got to be locked away and to yell into the camera.
That's right, sure.
Yeah, like I didn't like. I don't know. Some stuff that I've read from like the Ostrander's run, which is kind of like the definitive, Suicide Squad. Right? I think most people would say, is like it seemed like they, after they would do a mission, they would actually get like. They didn't just get like locked back up in their cells. Like they would kind of like room to walk around. Yeah, like they were still like, like in a prison and stuff, but like not like locked in tiny cells. And it's like, come on, like give him like fucking something.
Yeah. By the way,
he should have had a big pink unicorn in there with him.
Yeah.
That's what he should have had.
Actually, that would have been great. Like a really, really like overly obnoxious.
Yeah.
Big...
By the way, just in case people think we're missing it, yes, there was the building that the final stuff went down in was named the Ostrander building
tower.
Yeah. So, I can't remember the exact phrasing, but there was Ostrander and then Tower building or
something like that. Yeah.
So I just wanted to point out in case people thought we'd missed it, but no, I didn't notice it. And Joker comes and breaks Harley out, and that's a cliffhanger. Which, before we talk about overall thoughts, we'll talk about the mid-credit scene, which apparently DC do now.
Either do it or don't do it, okay? Like, I really have to pee at these points in the movies, alright? So, if I could just get up and go, that would be great. But if I have to sit and wait, that's fine. But, like, don't keep me guessing. You know what I mean?
No. I have my first major complaint about this mid-credit scene is that it actually doesn't tell us anything new. We knew that Batman was looking for all these people, right? This just feels like an excuse to have another scene with Bruce Wayne more than anything else. And then the other thing is, again, we get a little bit of weirdness out of character where he's like, you're under my protection if you give me what I need. I'm like, what? What? Batman protecting Amanda Waller from repercussion for doing something that he's against, and he even says he's against it in the next couple of lines. He's like, right, by the way, shut down the Suicide Squad because if you don't, I will.
My friends will.
Yeah, that was the line. Yeah.
Yeah, and he doesn't have friends. I watched Batman vs Superman. Alfred doesn't even like him. Okay, like, I hated that, and he loves his files, man. He watches me and Pete talked about it. He watches his QuickTime videos, and now he gets the paper.
Yeah, he's old school that way.
Good and Lord. It's just like you know, again, you know, I hate to compare it to Marvel movies, but I mean, if we're talking like, you know, mid-credit or end-credit scenes, it's kind of hard not to, and it's just, I feel like the Marvel ones, they always get you like psyched for the next movie. It's always like, oh, here's a little glimpse of Thanos, or like.
For the most part, I will say it's more 50-50. I do think there's half of them that have done that and they have been good and they have teased, and then there's half where they either give us nothing or they'll give us like. The ones that I've really been disappointed with the Marvel ones is when they just give us a scene cut out of the next movie.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I feel like a lot of times, especially now, they'll usually have like a mid-credit scene and like an end-credit scene. Yeah. So I feel like one will usually be good, and then another will be like maybe something funny or throwaway.
Well, like even like Avengers, which was the throwaway shawarma, was still fun. Or in Thor: The Dark World, it's the Beast rampaging around, chasing birds in London.
Yeah.
Like they're not necessary, but they're fun. Or Howard the Duck in Guardians.
I guess the point basically I'm just getting at though is just like this did not give me any type of excitement or anything into the new movie. You know, like at least like fucking show some character or something and not dumb files. I'm sick of files. All these dumb files.
Well, that's all they could, because in whoever putting these together, whether it's Snyder or whatever, they have a very limited viewpoint on these superheroes. Like Superman's just an alien, and I feel like Batman's just like a middle manager who loves his files. You know, so show us Batman like showing up in costume. And going to Waller, like in the comic this week, when General Lane's like, Batman can't get in here. No, I have the best guards. Yeah. And then Waller's like, Batman's behind you.
Yeah, have him surprise her. Like have him just show up in costume and like terrify her. And that, because you could even, that's the other thing. Like again, setting things up and like build teasing things. Like imagine the scene's her on her own and you don't know what's happening, and then she hears a noise. And she looks into the darkness, and then she turns around, and then Batman's there. Instead, it just cuts to her at dinner table, and then Bruce Wayne sitting across from her. It's just, there's no tease, there's no build, there's no, like, here's a little, like, you know, oh, who's that sitting across from her, who's this, who's that? It's just, no, here's Bruce Wayne.
Hey, remember this guy? Yeah, he's Batman.
It's Ben Affleck, he's here.
Yeah.
But see, what we don't know, it's not Bruce Wayne. It's his character from Gone Girl, and he's getting revenge on his wife. That's what's in the files.
Dear.
That'd be so much more satisfying than Justice League.
Oh, what would have been great is if you just saw, like, you know, Slipknot's son, like, you know, take up like a grappling hook and just shoot it in like Waller's face and just be like, I'm coming for you.
I can scale buildings even better than my father.
My dad.
Right, well, let's get to final overall things, or anything we missed that you want to mention, guys. Dan, we've been talking all over you because we've been talking about things with the comic books. Anything you want to bring up that we've glossed over?
It's more of a question, since you guys all know your comic books and all the rest of it. Harley Quinn, she had the hammer at the beginning. Where the hell did it go? Next thing, she's using a baseball bat or the gun.
Yeah, she's got a baseball bat. Why don't you use the hammer? It's the same goddamn thing. It's a blunt instrument.
Exactly. 1 minute the hammer's there, the iconic weapon of her character. And next thing it's a baseball bat. That really bugs me, actually.
I thought the over-the-top big revolver was cool. Like that still felt in tune with the Harley. But
it says love and hate, right?
Yeah.
Each time you pull the...
But like... Yeah, like she's using a baseball bat. That might as well be the hammer.
Yeah.
And then why show the hammer at the beginning?
Because it's a little tease for the real fans who love it no matter what, just because there's things from the comic books in it. By the way, like, can I just say, I said this when Batman v Superman came out and they had this excuse, and I'll say it again here. When the ridiculously negative reviews came out and people were, you know, like, oh shit, really bad reviews, and they asked, like, you know, Ayer and the cast, you know, what do you think of these reviews? And they say, oh, we made this for the fans. Fuck you.
Fuck off.
That is insulting to me as a fan. I do not have lower standards. I care more, right? Just because I am a fan of DC Comics does not mean that I don't want proper editing, that I don't want a proper story or proper, arcs and build and action sequences and not shit CG and not a generic villain and not giant beams of fucking light that I've seen in every other goddamn movie.
Preach, brother.
He's fired up.
Go.
Watch out, he's become a Scottish fire demon.
That is actually something that really bugs me, is like the discussion of all this stuff. Like, if you like hate the movie, a lot of people will label you as like, oh, well, you don't like DC or you're just a Marvel fanboy. It's like, no, like I can like appreciate a movie on its own merits, and if it is fundamentally and technically flawed, like that does not make it a good movie.
Yeah.
If it has a few Easter eggs to the comics that I love so much, that doesn't matter.
Yeah, because
tell me.
It happened back in Batman v Superman. If you criticised it, they would say, "Oh, you must be a Marvel fanboy." I'm like, no, I'm like the most DC guy. They're like I don't really care about Marvel that much. I like the movies. I enjoy the movies. I read some Marvel comics, but I'm a DC guy. I've always been a DC guy, and I dislike it because of everything it does to the characters and because I just want a film that's well made. Now, this is a good time to bring up something hilarious that happened from said fanboys, I guess, DC fanboys, from the Fallout, who not only do they accuse, the Marvel payouts and all that of reviews because all the negative reviews, there was a wonderful petition that got started this week on change.org to shut down Rotten Tomatoes because they keep being mean. Never mind the fact that Rotten Tomatoes don't actually review anything, they just correlate all the information from elsewhere.
They're an aggregator.
Right? They wanted to shut down Rotten Tomatoes because of how mean they are to DC movies.
Jesus Christ.
Warner Brothers own part of Rotten Tomatoes. The company that makes these movies...
I did not know that.
owns part of the site. You dumb fucks.
Hey, I'm going to shut down IMDb because the fans seem to like movies I don't. So when the fan percentage is bigger than the, critical,
Oh my God.
guys, we got to shut it down. People are dumb. We got to save them from themselves. Jeez, it's so dumb. But yeah, I didn't know Warner Brothers owned part of Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, they have a stake in it. I don't know how much, but they do have a stake in
but
it.
still, well, make better movies. Like, I'm hoping Wonder Woman, because we got the Wonder Woman trailer with Suicide Squad, and the crowd seemed generally receptive, more so than some of the other DC trailers that we've seen. So I went on a Friday night, packed theater, and, that's well and good. I have a better feeling about Wonder Woman than I've had with these past two. And even with Man of Steel, but I tricked myself into thinking Man of Steel was going to be a movie I wanted.
Hey, it's a sad state of affairs, but Man of Steel is easily still the best DC movie in this universe.
Yeah. It's
not a mess, so it's like it's not even by a little. It's not a mess.
Remember when I used to curse Goyer? Maybe Goyer needs to pop back in, because at least he has some tangential information.
Like as a DC fan, the state of this universe right now is like so depressing. And Wonder Woman is such a weird thing because obviously, I do want it to be good, but part of me also wants it to be shit because I want to just I want them all to bomb from here on out just so I can quickly get rid of this and then reboot as quickly as possible. But at the same time, I also want it to be good because I want to get rid of this stigma that women's-led action movies and superhero movies or instant failures. No, I want female-led movies like that. So I want it to be good to prove that wrong. But
the Johns era is upon us. He's not writing comics. It looks like he's focusing on TV and movies. But so I think post Wonder Woman, they're going to have a different tone.
Well, I think post Justice League. I think Justice League was still too far along to really feel his effect.
Well, they cut it from being a part 2 to just one movie.
True.
So that's beneficial. That's one thing
he's
coming in.
Part of me thinks that's because if it's like part 1 and 2, then the Snyder has to stay around for part 2.
Yeah.
Whereas if it's
part
part 1,
get out of my house.
They can get rid of him immediately after.
Yeah, that guy. Just go back to making Frank Miller movies, please. You're good at that.
But that's
yeah, I'm
have him
make Holy Terror.
Let's bring him back in.
He'd be perfect for Holy Terror.
See who's trying to try to herd these two, Dan. It's unreal. Let's rate it back to Suicide Squad and do some final thoughts for that then. So As a non-comic book guy, Dan, like, how do you feel overall with this film? What if you were giving this a review in a few sentences? Where are you standing with it?
Right. Going by what the trailer gave us, what everything else was given us, I'm extremely let down. I feel the movie itself is not absolute horrible dog shit that we all think it is. But it's nowhere near what we were promised, what we were teased, and what was built up to. I think the hype really killed it, but as you've brought up, the editing really didn't help it as well.
Tim, final thoughts?
Well, we didn't talk about my favorite character in the movie, which was the Joker's henchman with the goat head.
I know. As soon as he said that, I knew where it was going. I knew where he was. See, so Dan, what you don't know about Tim is he writes a comic called Goat Man, and he's very fond of goats. So anything with a goat is Tim's favorite thing.
Seriously, go to his Facebook and go to his photos. There's literally sections of those photos where he's went to like petting zoos and he's just like he's got lots of photos next to goats. He's goat mad. I don't know what it is.
So his favourite film of this year was obviously The Witcher. The Witch.
I loved The Witch.
Black Phillip. Black Phillip was the hero.
But yeah, I mean, that was definitely a plus for me in the movie, but we didn't get enough of it. The biggest compliment I can give this movie is that it was garbage, but it was slightly better garbage than Batman versus Superman, I think. Like, I enjoyed it a little bit more, and at the end of the day, I think there's, it was more like a lot of the technical stuff, because there was some okay stuff, like with like some of the actual like way that the characters, I guess, like their personalities and stuff, as opposed to like Batman versus Superman, where the personalities seemed polar opposite of how they're usually portrayed. It's just a lot of this.
I'm going to jump in and just piggyback off of you, because you're basically saying exactly what I was going to.
Okay.
I think this is garbage. I think it, from a technical level, from a filmmaking level, it is a complete and utter mess. But it is better than Batman v Superman, just purely because it doesn't completely bastardize all of its main characters.
There's the second cat appearance of the podcast.
So yeah, I agree. So Matt, you can give the final thoughts.
I think I've just come to terms with it, that until proven otherwise, these movies are going to be a mess. It's just to what degree. And this one wasn't as much of a mess, like Dan was saying, as I thought it was going to be. Mm-hmm. So, like, it's almost like Stockholm Syndrome, to where I'm just like, I'm here. I'm going to try to enjoy it. And more or less I did. Because, again, Aztec Fire Demon. Reasons? None. But it was there. And I enjoyed Will Smith's Deadshot. I'm not that I'm close to the character, but I've enjoyed him in the comics, and I thought they got him pretty spot on. More so than I thought when I saw the first image of him in the pimp hat. I was like, what is that about? When he's walking with his daughter, and I guess that's his casual wear, is a pimp hat. So, I think I liked it more than the rest of you did, but it's still, as I said, it's not terrible, but it's far from good. Yeah. And at best, it's mediocre. So, and, I just saw somebody online, one of my friends told me that in a certain other group, someone said it was better than Avengers 2. And I want to shake that person so they get concussed and maybe it helps their brain get oxygen. Because as a movie, it is not well put together. Just plain and simple.
Yeah,
so,
it's not. Like, Avengers Age of Ultron might have some problems, but I've watched that multiple times. I will watch that again. I don't know if I'll ever bother watching this again.
Oh, Pete, you don't want David Ayer's playlist?
No. If I want his playlist, I'll find Spotify and I'll put it on that way.
I gotcha.
But yeah, there you go. That's Suicide Squad. Clearly I disliked it even more than Matt did, because I would say it is basically terrible. But no, that's Suicide Squad. So thanks. Let us know what you think of it in the comments below, or you can tweet at us and stuff. Mailed_fuzz. mailofus@gmail.com if you want to email us. Email us. Now, normally I would plug Ronin's reviews here, but I don't have to do that this time because Dan can just do it himself. Dan, tell people what you're about.
Right, guys, we're a review site. We do absolutely everything, or well, we try to do everything. I try and do a lot of music, though I'm starting to branch out into films. In fact, there was a reason I was wearing that hat earlier.
Oh.
Tomorrow, Monday, is the 30th anniversary of the original 86 Transformers.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
So I've actually written a little piece that should be out tomorrow for that. So I think it's more angry at the toy makers than it is the actual filmmakers.
Yeah. Starscream is so great in that movie, though, because he declares himself king.
You know, I am really glad, at least for now, that things are having 30th anniversaries and I'm not, like, I'm younger than that still. I'm going to be
aren't you special, Pete?
I'm going to be really depressed in a couple of years' time when it's like 30th anniversary. I'm like, oh god, I'm over that age.
When Goonies hit its 30th last summer, I got a little bit sad. And I love Goonies, but that just means we're the same age.
Oh.
Personally, I love being the same age as Castlevania, so.
Oh dear. Tim, why don't you plug some comics and Kickstarter and maybe a horror podcast?
Okay. Well, yeah, we'll start with that. Me and Pete also do a horror podcast where we talk about horror movies from the past and the present. And that's every week. We usually talk about one or two movies. It's a lot of fun. Usually one of us is right and one of us is wrong. You can also check out all my social media stuff. It's like at Tim Vargulish. Check out my comic book stuff at facebook.com/GoatmanComics. And I still have a little less than a week for the Kickstarter for my new comic, Veterinary Clinic. So if you'd be interested in that, just go to Kickstarter.com, check out Veterinary Clinic.
Tim just advertising like a shameless whore there. I will.
Oh yeah, let's get ready for your 5 minutes of fucking.
I will put a link to your Kickstarter along with a link to Ronin's reviews in the description of the podcast and video on YouTube, so you can get to those things easily.
Also, check out The Green Inferno on for Screams After Midnight. It needs more views.
Yeah, that's a good point. Our most successful video on YouTube is our Screams After Midnight review of The Green Inferno, which is raking them in. Matt's on that video, so he's quite proud of himself.
Yes,
he's going to just take that as a testament to his presence.
Also, please leave more comments because we're developing like a hall of comments. And there's some gems on there.
Do you know what I love about the comments on that? It's like, fuck you all, fuck off. And then there was some in a different language, so I Google translated, and it was basically fuck you. It was wonderful.
It's fantastic. I hate internet negativity, but that one I will take it, because if you're that passionate about The Green Inferno, I feel you have other issues. So, please comment on ours and don't take it out on the rest of the world.
Also, it's interesting to learn how many different YouTube usernames Eli Roth has.
There you go.
Matt, you can plug. You got a comics thing to plug. On you go.
Yeah. So you can check me and Pete, and occasionally the Ginger, Connor, on Comics from the Multiverse here. Well, not here because it's on Mild Fuzz TV, but that comes up once a week. We discuss the latest DC comics. So. Yeah, check us out there, and I'm on Twitter at MadofSteel57.
And I'll make sure there's a link to the playlist for those in the corner, because this is a DC movie, so you may actually be interested in DC comics, so it makes sense.
And we had the new Suicide Squad Rebirth issue come out this week, which is pretty fortuitous, because they don't line up ever that perfectly. It's almost like DC Comics had a plan.
Oh dear, that's not like them.
No, not at all.
So check out that. Also, and I will leave the one last thing to plug before we go. Matt mentioned the All Channel Mailed Fuzz TV on YouTube. Mm-hmm. We review a bunch of TV shows every week on our what we call Almost Cancelled TV reviews, which also gets packaged once we get into an audio download as well if you want that on your podcatching services of choice. That's me and the Ginger Connor, and we do all the DC shows, which obviously are all on hiatus right now, but when they all come back at the start of October, Flash, Supergirl, Arrow, Legends of Tomorrow, we do all them. We'll be doing Powerless, which is the new sitcom one, in January when it hits. So if all that's of interest, and you don't just hate our guts if you love the movie and you're annoyed at us that we shat on it for 90 minutes, then check it out. So No, that has been this special extra long 1.21 gigawatts. We thank you very much for watching and or listening. We always do. Help us out by liking and subscribing and leaving us a comment and doing a 5-star review on iTunes. It helps us out a lot. Just spread the word. We appreciate it. You know, check
do
out...
it. You don't have the balls.
But no, thanks very much, guys. Keep watching movies. We shall see you next time.